and the Human Resource Committee.
Trustee Pryor.
Yeah.
Trustee Pryor.
Are you available with this? I can't see.
I guess you're gonna call the roll, huh?
Go ahead. Yes, perfect. Michael, do you want to go ahead and call the roll for,
Ms. Bunce,
Here,
Mr. Seifel here, Mr. Corrigan here, Ms. Rodriguez,
here?
and Mr. Parker.
Here. And Ms. Pryor is joining us virtually.
I beg your pardon?
Trustee Pryor is joining us virtually.
So noted.
So, well, actually, she will be Trustee Pryor up there. She is.
But she is here to see how our joint finance, human resource, community service meetings are run and stuff. So we would like to welcome her as well. Thank you. Ellen?
Exhibit 1 is a resolution to engage Land Studio Inc. to organize 2023 program. There are no questions or anything to add to it. I move that it goes to the full board on Thursday.
So moved. Our second. Mr. Seifel,
Yes.
Mr. Corrigan. Yes. And Mr. Parker.
Yes.
So on Thursday, Erica will be providing us with a presentation with Land Studio, Aaron Guido from it, to kind of give us an overview of what the exhibit will look like.
Perfect.
great.
Okay, exhibit 2 is a resolution to accept gifts for the month of November. There are no questions or comments. I move that exhibit 2 goes to the full board on Thursday.
Second. Mr. Seifel,
Yes.
Mr. Corrigan. Yes. And Mr. Parker.
Yes. Exhibit 3, resolution authorizing the transfer of funds from the general fund to the building and repair fund and to the debt service fund.
So this, I'll speak on this. This resolution will transfer $10 million out of the general fund into the building and repair fund this year. And it will also transfer our debt service payment for 2023 into the debt service fund. And estimating the general fund's unencumbered balances, if it can afford these transfers out, the estimated unencumbered balance after these transfers will be just over $20 million. And we do continue to do long-term forecasting for sustainability and to keep our promises to our voters as we're moving funds into the capital projects funds. And any other questions on this?
No other
No.
questions or comments, and I move that exhibit 3 goes to the full board on Thursday.
Second. Mr. Seifel,
Yes.
Mr. Corrigan. Yes. And Mr. Parker.
Yes. Exhibit 4, resolution to advance cash from the general fund to the early literacy fund.
So in October, the board accepted a grant from United Way for the family spaces programs. And the library is already beginning to encumber funds for this, but we have not yet received our first payment from United Way. And we very well might by the end of the year, but this is just to cover us since we're closing the year and this fund cannot have a negative fund balance. So if we have invoiced United Way for the first payment, and we do expect to receive it either this month or next month. The first payment is $47,214.58.
No further questions or comments. Move that exhibit 4 goes to the full board on Thursday.
Second. Mr. Seifel,
Yes.
Mr. Corrigan. Yes. And Mr. Parker.
Yes. Exhibit 5, 11th amendment to the year 2022 appropriation.
So attached to this appropriation is our last estimated certificate of resources, and we amended it and we increased our general fund estimated resources by just over $4.4 million. And that consists of $3 million additional in property tax and about $1.1 million in the public library fund. And then an additional amount in interest are the major amounts that increase the general fund revenue. But I do want to bring to your attention that we received $3.5 million in delinquent taxes, and those delinquent taxes are not certified by the Budget Commission. So we actually received just under our certification by $666,000, which dropped our collection rate slightly from 91.54% to 90.47%. And then we also are updating our special revenue funds for the endowment income and investment earnings through year end. The same with our debt service and our capital funds. And the capital funds will also include that transfer in from the board of $10 million. And the permanent funds include increases in other sources for endowment income and gains that are estimated at this time. And then on the appropriation side, the general fund will be appropriating $10 million for the transfer. And the special revenue funds will be decreasing their appropriation by $50,000 for a grant that has not been expended this year. And an increase in the construction tax exempt fund of $66,450 for the Lorraine project budget increase that is going before the board also this month.
No further questions, comments? Move that Exhibit 5 goes to the full board on Thursday.
Second. Mr. Seifullah,
Yes.
Mr. Corrigan,
Yes.
and Mr. Parker.
Yes. Exhibit 6, year 2023 annual appropriation measure.
So although the library has not received its Schedule A yet from the Budget Commission, we are estimating our operating certified revenues, which are attached to this resolution. And we are asking to appropriate $65,276,234.37 in the general fund. And then a total appropriation of just over $9 million in the special revenue funds. And in the debt service fund, about $3.3 million for our debt service payments. And in our permanent or endowment funds, just over $120,000 for a total appropriation of $77,723,871.77.
If there are no further questions or comments, I move that Exhibit 6 goes to the full board on Thursday.
Second.
Mr. Seifullah,
Yes.
Mr. Corrigan,
Yes.
and Mr. Parker.
Yes.
Exhibit 7, resolution authorizing amendment to the agreement with Unique Management Services, Inc. for material and cash recovery services.
So the board authorized an agreement in 2020 with Unique in the amount not to exceed $55,000. And during COVID, we have suspended referral of accounts to Unique. And again, the board has authorized us to further amend the agreement through the end of this year. And we still have just over $19,000 left on this purchase order. And we're asking to extend this amendment through June 30th, keeping the remaining amount that the board approved in 2019. It was not to exceed $55,000.
No further questions or comments. I move that Exhibit 7 goes to the full board on Thursday.
Second.
Mr. Seifullah,
Yes.
Mr. Corrigan,
Yes.
and Mr. Parker.
Yes.
Exhibit 8, resolution authorizing maintenance agreement with Integrated Precision Systems, Inc. for video surveillance and access control systems.
Integrated Precision Systems, IPS, with their minority partner, Clark Telecommunications, is already providing security devices, cameras, sensors, and panels to the FMP by previously approved board resolution. This is the annual maintenance agreement for system-wide support of our security systems. Reflects a 7% cost increase from last year, which we find reasonable, especially in light of the fact that the scope of services anticipates the new libraries coming online in 2023. Had a good conversation with Kerry about this. We agree we want to competitively source this in the future via rebidding. But while IPS is providing the cameras to the FMP projects, we thought it most prudent to keep them on board as our maintenance supplier as well for this year.
No further questions, comments. I move Exhibit 8 goes to the full board on Thursday.
Second.
Mr. Seifullah,
Yes.
Mr. Corrigan,
Yes.
and Mr. Parker.
Yes.
Exhibit 9, resolution authorizing agreements for moving services related to main library high-density mobile storage project.
I can speak on that. The hiring of a mover is the last piece of the puzzle for starting, other than ceiling modifications, for starting the mobile storage conversion project. We sent out a detailed request for proposal to a dozen vendors, both every vendor who provides moving services on our diverse vendor database, and anyone that I could identify nationally who provides these very specialized services. We had a very rigorous process. We got 5 proposals. We had a diverse team of library staff review the proposals and score them. And we selected current Corrigan Moving Systems. They had the lowest price, and we scored based on cost, experience, work plan, and DEI. We have worked with Corrigan before, and they have a very diverse team of employees, and we are of the belief that they will do a very good job for the library.
A lot of difference in the price between 850.
The 850,
And
that company deals mostly with documents, and I think that might account for some of the price difference. Corrigan is local, and so I think that accounts for some of their, ability to provide the lowest price.
It's appropriate I'll mention the fact that I'm not.
And they did provide an affidavit stating that, not with their name on it, but stating no relationship with anyone at what is required.
Yeah.
Yes.
I would point out that they are the, if you will, the descendants of 2 brothers who started Corrigan back in
1929.
I was going
Wow.
to say just
Oh, really?
before 1930.
Well, and a lot fewer laborers or people.
But the significant thing about them is that they're 2 sisters, one of whom was got an embalming license. And there was not much accommodation for changing names of women who obtained professional degrees. So when the sisters married 2 brothers who were Slovak, Corrigan Funeral Home started. And the Corrigan Funeral Home, because both brothers changed their names to their wives' names so that they wouldn't have a problem with the embalming license.
Interesting.
The other unique thing that happened was that as a marketing idea, because the brothers were movers, the brothers of the 2 sisters were movers, they acquired a whole lot of tables and chairs and became the go-to people for bingos and church events and parties in backyards, because they always needed tables and chairs for the funeral home, and they had a place to store them and people who could move them for next to nothing. And so the whole idea of funeral homes providing those sorts of additional services to families and neighborhoods is largely a result of the coincidence of 2 brothers having 2 sisters who were in the funeral home business. So it's kind of interesting.
Okay. Wow.
I'll try to answer this.
Just to make sure that there was no.
No, I just,
relationship.
it just that happened. The sister who had the embalming degree, her oldest son was Tom. And I always kidded that he was Thomas A. Corrigan. And then my uncle, the Monsignor, was Thomas C. And I'm only Thomas D. Corrigan. So
Michael had something else
If there
to
are other
say.
questions, I can try to answer them now.
I think Tom covered it. Putting it out there.
I'm also hoping, as it's legally permissible, that if anybody would like to see this project in progress, it's going to be kind of invisible because it's on the storage floor, but it's really going to be a fascinating project. It's one of the largest in the country that's being attempted in this particular configuration. So I'd be happy to give a tour to anyone who would like one when it starts.
Any particular time or just whenever?
Whenever, you tell me what works for you and I will accommodate.
All right.
And I'm particularly proud of the fact historically that we built this building to do this high density stuff. And now we're really taking best advantage of it. And as expensive as moving is and those sort of things, the cost of doing another building right now. We're saving the taxpayers literally millions of dollars because of the way we built this building originally. Michael's bringing, and his contractors are bringing this information, and I'm very proud of that.
Because we can't do this on any other floors. I mean, it's odd that we can put all this weight, over 5 million pounds per floor, only on these 3 upper floors. The other floors cannot sustain this amount of weight. But that's engineering, that's John Lane's baby.
Let's hope it holds.
Did we vote?
And the second,
I second.
Mr. Seifullah?
Yes.
Mr. Corrigan?
Yes.
And Mr. Parker?
Yes.
Exhibit 10, resolution to ratify purchase of promotional items for the Cleveland Reads campaign.
I will.
I'm sorry, I was on mute. I'm sorry, Director, I was on mute. Hi, I just want to give you an overview of what we're doing. So we've encumbered a bit of our expenses as it relates to Cleveland Reads, but as a way to motivate children, seniors, and adults to participate in the challenge, we will be having prizes for them. So the resolution in front of you is simply an overview of the prizes and promotional items we will be giving to City of Cleveland residents or residents who participate in this program as an incentive to participate.
There are no further questions or comments. I move to exhibit 10. Those are the full board on Thursday.
Mr. Seifullah?
Yes.
Mr. Corrigan?
Yes.
And Mr. Parker?
Yes.
Exhibit 11, resolution authorizing upgrades to Lewis Stokes Glen public elevators.
So we're under a master service agreement with Kone, which allows us to do repair projects within the rubric of the larger agreement. The board approved in 2022 the upgrade of 2 of the elevators with rope grippers, which are a safety enhancement device and an operation device, which was recommended, not required, but recommended during our last certification. The intention was to do 2 or 3 shafts every year, but as we heard from the CFO, we're in a good financial position closing out fiscal year 2022. And so I'd like to take the opportunity to authorize 3 more of the 3 public LSW side elevators with end of the year fiscal year 2022 money. And the price on a per elevator basis, there were 2 last year, there's 3 this year, so the contract's more expensive, but on a per elevator basis, they're fairly in line.
No further questions or comments. I move that exhibit 11 goes to the full board on Thursday.
Second.
Mr. Seifullah?
Yes.
Mr. Corrigan?
Yes.
And Mr. Parker?
Yes.
Exhibit 12, resolution authorizing blanket purchase orders in excess of $25,000.
Second.
Mr. Seifullah?
Yes.
Mr. Corrigan?
Yes.
And Mr. Parker?
Yes.
Exhibit 13, resolution amending project budget for the Lorraine Branch.
This might be a good opportunity to talk about what happened at Lorraine Branch.
Yes.
So on November 30th, you may recall, it was a high winds night. A power pole, first energy power pole on Lorraine Avenue, which after the fact we suspect was maybe rotted near the base, tipped over south to north onto the face of the Lorraine Branch building. At that point, the witnesses say the power line arced and sparked. There is metal stone coping, metal coping on top of the stone parapet on top of that building. Appears, doing a little amateur physicist work here, it appears the heat transferred all the way across the top of the building, west to east, and ignited the roof in the southeast corner of the building. First responders responded quickly. A bunch of library people were on site. It was on the news at 6:30 that morning. The fire was extinguished within a half an hour or so. There's damage to the roof. There's damage to the parapet on the roof, and there was damage on the interior from the fire, and then there was some fire water damage. Brian can speak more to the insurance on the building. It's under a builder's risk policy. So obviously the building, I should back up, the building was an FMP branch. It's on schedule to open end of the first quarter of fiscal year 2023. So it's in construction. The building is empty, no shelves, no collections, no materials. and the construction team hadn't shown up in that morning. The library chose to hold the builder's risk policy for all of the FMP projects. We achieved a better premium by doing that. It means now the insurance burden is on us. We have a $25,000 deductible. The extent of the repairs is not totally known on a cost basis, but it'll be tens of thousands, not hundreds of thousands of dollars. We kind of dodged a bullet here. So the budget resolution would give the library the flexibility to initiate the repairs, give us the budget flexibility to authorize the repairs, and then we'll be recompensated by insurance once the dust settles.
You
Also,
think,
we
did you
don't wanna
say
wait.
you already estimated the cost of the repairs?
Well, we're estimating between $50,000 and $100,000 all in. That's a little additional work for the architect. We've already had the structural engineer out. The city building department required a structural assessment before we proceeded with the work, so that's already happened. There'll be a little, and now it's not yet clear whether we need to resubmit for a permit, so there may be some architectural drawings that have to happen, or just a narrative describing the scope of work. But there'd be those building trades, interior finishes, the plaster. There's a hole in the plaster underneath where the fire was. The roof, there's a temporary repair on the roof already. We approved that as an emergency. So
Water
permanent
damage.
roof repairs, not the whole roof, just a section of roof that was damaged. Plus the parapet wall, which is masonry, plus metal flashing, and then the interior plaster ceiling, and then painting and finishes.
So there's probably water damage in that community room.
The water damage inside is not bad. What we're afraid of is how much water got into the roof assembly. And so what they're going to do is take a core of the roof, roof's a deep roof system, and test the water content. And if it's wet, we're going to go 5 feet further out and test it again. Whenever we get to a dry profile, that's where we cut, and then that section of roof will come out and get replaced.
But we're gonna go ahead and pay for that, so as not
We're
to
gonna-
wait for the insurance purposes, and then we will submit to be reimbursed
Yes,
from
ma'am.
the city or First Energy, because that was their pole.
Well, we'll leave that.
Wasn't that their pole?
It
First
is
Energy?
a First Energy
Yeah.
poll. So, well, with our $25,000 deductible, we have to pay the first $25,000, after which the insurance will reimburse us. We will work with the insurance company. They will likely look to subrogate the claim to First Energy to receive the money that they pay. So whether we submit a claim directly to First Energy or the insurance company submits our claim for that deductible on our behalf remains to be seen, but we'll work that out as the repair work unfolds.
And other than the defect in the pole, it was wind, we think.
It was it was very windy that night. I think there was a lot of different damage
Yeah.
And
in
then
the area.
to remind me, most of the work at Lorraine Branch FMP project is for the addition.
I'd say it's about half renovation. It's a full gut renovation to the interior plus the addition. The roof was less than 10 years new, so the roof was not scheduled for
So
replacement.
when we were in there on the tour, you had the new skylight over the front part, but that was not the corner.
That was an existing skylight. So the addition is on the northwest.
But
side
I
of the
mean, you
building.
had already finished that section. It's not affecting that area, right?
Just as a final piece of curiosity, the First Energy pole that fell onto the building and started the fire was not even providing electricity to the building.
Oh,
Cleveland Public Power has a separate
so
subgrid that comes
crazy the
north and
way
south
we
on
have-
West 81st Street that was feeding the building, so it wasn't. it
if
wasn't even
only
enough
these
power.
were underground like every other country in the world, right?
We're not in any other country. We're in the United States of America.
Cleveland always has to have 2 sets of poles everywhere. Thank
Thank
you
you.
very much.
And the second,
Second,
Mr. Seifullah?
Yes.
Mr. Corrigan?
yes.
And Mr. Parker?
Yes.
Exhibit 14, resolution authorizing agreement with Cleveland State University for America Reads tutoring services.
So I can speak to this. This is to continue our ongoing partnership with America Reads. They provide the tutoring services in our branches. So we are looking to offer tutoring at between 10 to 13 locations. They typically hire about 35 tutors who tutor students in grades K through 8.
And why we're hearing from Eric Martz is because Erica will be serving as the interim director of programming services as Erin has left us. So we will be seeing Erica a lot more in the future, but I just wanted everyone to know that.
Thank you, Eric.
Thank you.
Thank you, Erica.
Thank you.
We'll get everybody to clap for you on Thursday.
There's a pre-clap. And the second,
Second,
Mr. Seifelo?
Yes.
Mr. Corrigan?
yes.
Mr. Parker?
Yes.
Exhibit 15, resolution authorizing amendment to the agreement for removal of existing chiller at Lakeshore facility.
Chiller work at Lakeshore is done. Board recall approving the contracts for that last year. We were able to get the second half of the cooling season under air at Lakeshore. So that's all good. You may recall we broke work down into multiple scopes in an effort to get more diverse suppliers into the project. One of the smaller scopes was for the demolition and make safe work, and that included draining the building with refrigerant. Our contract documents indicated that the refrigerant would be disposed of by the contractor in the event the property management staff had use of refrigerant. So we asked to harvest it through the contractor, which they did for us. There's a small cost of $742, and so that's how we're hoping to amend the contract, just to be able to close this out.
Moved.
Okay. No further questions. I move that it goes to the full board on Thursday.
I'll second.
Mr. Seifelo?
Yes.
Mr. Corrigan?
Yes.
And Mr. Parker?
Yes.
And that concludes finance.
Thank you. And Mr. Trustee Harrison's absent, Trustee Parker's going to go ahead and review the Human Resource Committee.
Let's go right to exhibit 17. There's a resolution appointing Benefit Resources Inc. as third-party administrator of Cleveland Public Library's flexible spending account and community benefits plan, authorizing contract and amending flexible spending account plan.
So this resolution does three things. It appoints Benefit Resource Incorporated as our third-party administrator because they acquired the previous third-party administrator, which was North Coast Administrators on December 1st. Then it will allow us to enter into a contract for next year with Benefit Resources Incorporated, which is our new plan and a third-party administrator for the FSA benefits. And then it will amend our plan that annually the voluntary employee health FSA contribution amount changes per the Internal Revenue Code or Revenue Service. And we're writing it in the plan to update that amount according to what the IRS has I guess authorized. Brian, is that right?
That's correct. The IRS has updated has increased the limit that employees can contribute on a tax-free basis by $200 to $3,050. And in order to give employees the benefit of that increase, we need to update our plan accordingly. And in order to prevent us having to go back and ask for permission every time the IRS updates that limit, the plan will be amended so as to allow employees to contribute up to the maximum that the IRS allows, as that may be from time to time change.
No other questions?
Second.
All right. Ms. Lutz?
Yes.
Mr. Corrigan?
Yes.
And Mr. Parker?
Yes. Exhibit 18 is a resolution to revise the Human Resources Manual. So this resolution is to add a section 290 to the Human Resources Manual, which will be policy on social media use. This policy will apply to staff members' use of social media, both use of the Cleveland Public Library social media accounts, particularly for those staff members whose job duties include posting and monitoring their social media accounts, and also personal use of social media accounts to the extent that that use affects the library, such as use of a social media account to bully or harass other staff. What this policy does is create a corollary to our policies on bullying, on harassment, and other undesirable acts that employees could do, and applies it specifically to the social media context. And it does that by creating a set of policies or prohibitions on particular acts that we have tailored so as not to infringe on staff's First Amendment rights, but really just to ensure that the library is able to function efficiently and monitor employees' use of social media accounts as it pertains to the workforce. And also sets forth a number of guidelines and best practices that we strongly encourage staff members to follow so as not to create any issues in the workplace by their out of work use of social media.
Questions? I move.
Second.
Ms. Butts,
Yes.
Mr. Corrigan,
Yes.
and Mr. Parker.
Yes. And I'm sorry, with Exhibit 16, even though it's not a resolution, I think we still have to move for it to be moved to Thursday. So I move.
Second.
Ms. Butts,
I'm not sure what we're
Exhibit
not.
16.
The employment report.
The employee, we,
Yeah, I skipped over that.
Oh, yeah, yes.
Mr. Corrigan,
Yes.
and Mr. Parker.
Yes. So now let's go to Exhibit 19. This will be the resolution to enter into an agreement with ERC Services, Inc. for harassment prevention training.
So before COVID, staff used to get periodic training on discrimination, harassment, and so on and so forth through their staff development day. We haven't held that since COVID. Also in 2020, you approved us updating our two policies. One is harassment and discrimination, the other is our bullying and civility. So what we would like to do is contract with ERC in 2023 to develop training that'll serve as a refresher for all staff. New staff have gotten introduced to this as they've been hired, but it's been a couple of years since we've refreshed existing staff. So there will be mandatory training of 2 hours for all management staff and 1 hour for all employees. And the training will coincidentally be conducted by Jim Wilkins Law Firm, because Jim Wilkins Law Firm contracts with ERC to provide this training, so they know as well.
and the one thing I think we are talked about or asked is that employees are signing off that they have received this training so that, and it's be placed in their files, so that in the event they're not following all the harassment policies, we have proof that they have been, that they have had training on this and they understand the expectations that we have here in the library. Is that correct?
That will be correct, yes.
Thank you. Just to make sure that, you know.
Yeah, sounds very good. We need it.
All right. Can I move this?
Second.
Thank you.
Ms. Butts,
Yes.
Mr. Corrigan,
Yes.
and Mr. Parker.
Yes, that concludes, I believe, the Human Resources Committee.
Thank you, Trustee Parker.
Thank you.
Community Resources Committee, there's a single resolution for review, Exhibit 20. It is the public side equivalent of an update on our social media policies, and it's attached. Obviously, we want to make sure that we both support the First Amendment patrons, but at the same time, regulate those things that are appropriate to regulate, which are not speech items, but are either forms of harassment or hate or advertisements, financial use of our resources for their personal benefit and those sorts of things. And this really is a good update. I had a chance to review it carefully and then had a chance to talk to the director and Brian about it as well. And it's really, I think, important that we regularly update these things. And as you all know, Mr. Musk has made social media abuse a more common thing because of his own policies and his extravagant sense in the First Amendment. But that we be up to date, I think is really important. And as I said, I'm very glad that we were able to do this and commend the staff for taking steps to make sure that we reflect an updated view on these issues for the public and our patrons. So moved.
Second.
Ms. Bunt,
Yeah.
Mr. Seifullah,
Yeah.
Mr. Corrigan,
Yes,
and Mr. Parker.
Yes.
that concludes community services for purposes of the joint session. We'll do have our initial reports.
And at this time, we will adjourn the Joint Finance Human Resource Community Service Committee. Yeah, thank you, everyone.
And if the new trustee has any questions, you can always call me or anybody else on the board. So we're looking forward to you joining us.
Yes.
Yeah.
We are.
Yeah.